grandpa and grandma were Saul Howard Henry, and Saul was born March 8, 1869. And Anna Savannah moved here in Oklahoma Indian Territory, and they had, I can't see how many kids they had on here.
10 kids.
10 children.
7 boys, 7 women, and 3 boys.
And his mother was Frances Henry, and she married Claude. My grandpa Claude walked here from Georgia in 1889. In
Gooseneck, Georgia.
Gooseneck, Georgia, and made a settle here, and then met up with my grandma Frances Henry, and they married. They have 8 kids. One passed away.
That's his baby.
Yeah.
I'm the only one left.
He's the baby. He was the youngest one. The oldest one was Irby,
He's World War II.
World War II veteran. And then who's next? Willie?
No horse.
No.
Our baby was in World War II.
But the next brother, youngest. That next person.
With Gerald.
Anyway, they had one sister that passed away in
When she's 3-year-old.
Snyder.
No, Irby had a Billie Jean, yeah.
No, I'm talking about your sister, the one that passed away.
Little
Oakland. But the rest of them survived till older age. But he, like I say, Lavora, some of y'all was asking about Lavora a while ago. The only person around this whole 100 miles around here, you never knew of another woman named Lavora. Right? Around here anywhere. There was no other Lavoras. You could go to another state and you never knew another lady named Lavora. Well, she had a sister, their mom, named Leora. And there's no, you know where many Leoras? Have you seen many Leoras as a name for a girl?
Yeah.
Those two, so do you?
Leora Klingman.
A few, but not, they're pretty rare.
Yeah, it's pretty rare.
And so, you know, that was that's when you know her, you know, that was one of a kind, because there's not very many Leoras or Leoras around this area. And he was talking about that and talking about namesakes. My sister, Melanie Renee's here, and we have another sister named Melody Ann, but they named one of them Melody and one of them Melanie, and they're like one letter. They're so close to sounding the same. You know, I guess that was a family thing that, you know, they wanted to, you know, include in or whatever. But as far as his siblings, he had the whole family, I guess, lived here till they were, out on the farm, Harrison Flat, till, and
40s.
first, early on, they didn't have no card riding out there. She told me they rode a horse and wagon, brought milk and eggs and whatever they could to town to trade for whatever dry goods they needed, and they rode a horse and wagon from Harrison Flats to Lindsay. Probably took all day, do their shopping, get back home by dark, and then I guess sometime later on they got a tractor and some farm stuff, and they farmed out there at Harrison Flats for how long ago, family?
For years.
Till he got in the Army, till Irby got in the Army, and then Lavora, she became a phone operator.
Push button operator.
Push button operator for Bell Telephone in Lindsay, and then they went on with it. Some of the boys, Hoss and Willie, moved to Texas and got in the oil business and done pretty well doing the oil field work. And Dad stayed here and he done broom corn and hay and coon dogs. Been coon dogging for how many years? 70?
About 70.
Before I was born. He's doing coon dog before I was born. Because I've known him my whole life. I'm 62, and
You know what him is? That's places to come to. I've been there 85 years. All the landowners in Mickey and all this stuff.
Wow.
All the what?
landowners,
Oh.
Wow.
property owners. So
So you have to go through every one of them to find the right one?
I got the initial on it.
Oh, you did?
he knows what they are. And he, most all of them are good, let them go coon hunting still, even now. You know, a lot of places, they don't want you on their place for liabilities and all that kind of stuff, but he's been doing it for so long, they all know. He's just in there coon hunting, he's not doing anything. I can tell you a few coon hunting stories if you got time. But one time, I don't know if y'all know any of these, I'm gonna go this thing away for a little while. Bussy Billingsley, out here south of Purdy. There was a bunch of them. He hunted with a bunch of them in Buzz, Billingsley, Preacher Morgan, and there was a whole crew of them. Anyway, we was out coon hunting one night. He had a new orange cap and somehow had a live band on it. But coon got up in this tree and there was a holler in the tree. And he climbed up over it. Well, when he got up over it, he figured it out. It was a beehive in his hole. And the bees was coming out stinging him, and they're saying, "Hurry up, Jimmy, get up there and kick that coon out. These dogs are getting hot down here treeing, and they're going to leave. Kick that coon out so they can run it again, tree it again." He didn't have nothing else, so he took that brand new orange cap off and jabbed it down in that hole to keep the bees from coming out. He climbed on up there and kicked the coon out. Of course, as soon as he kicked the coon out, they let the coon go away, and then he turned all the dogs off. Then they was hollering, "Hurry up, get down, Jimmy. We're going to go after the dogs." So, that orange cap stayed in that tree for till it.
I might cut the tree down, they ate the cap up. I put this cottonwood tree way up there, and the limbs way out yonder. I could probably get out there and hit back in there, and the time I go back, and the babies coming out of that hole. I just rolled up, stick it in there, and then over there, and bail out.
Another one time he had some mules that he rode. And he had a pair of good and riding mules. Nice ones, called jump fence. He tie a rope around the fence and lead them up there, and they jump the fence. And we'd go all over around here coon hunting, down south to Oakland Ranch, and it had rained a few days before, and we were walking a little two-track road, pickup road, and it was red clay, and it had gotten wet, and it was kind of dry. By the end, the sun had baked it, so it was rough. And we both owned mules, we were kind of side by side, and he had had a walker dog named Rowdy, and he snapped it on the ring on the saddle horn. And we're clicking down through there on this mule, just going, everything's good. 10:30, 11 o'clock at night.
No mule, most time on the same track.
The dog's in a mule entrance. Well, the mule stepped on the dog's toe. The first time I heard it, when the dog stepped on the mule's toe, the dog just yelped pretty good. And I thought, what was that? And looked over there, and the dog got away from him. Well, the next time wasn't so fortunate. The mule stepped on the dog's toe, and the dog bit the mule on the leg. When the dog bit the mule on the leg, the rodeo started. And he had his headlight on, and I had mine on. And this was like slow motion. I was watching, and the mule was putting on the National Finals Rodeo. His head tied, and he's trying, I'm watching him, he's in the middle of it, doing good, riding the hell out of it. And he's trying to unhook this dog snap at the same time, still riding. Well, the thing broke finally, but when the dog broke loose, he lost it. I seen it. I said, he's done. His right foot came out of the stirrup. And the next thing I know, I looked over there and it was slow motion. He was up on all fours and about as high as the ceiling in the air and looked at me and said, "This ain't gonna be good." But when he hit the ground and the mule ran off, and I said, "Well, here, take my mule and I'll go catch that." And he said, "Oh no, that ain't happening." He said, "I'm going to get that mule." And I said, "What are you going to do to that mule?" And he said, "I'm going to ride it back up here. Me and that mule's about to have a conference, don't come down there." And here in a minute, he come right back, riding back up there on that mule and snapped that dog back on there, and we went hunting. Wow. And he told me, he said, "I need to go down there and show that mule which one of us is harder headed." And when he got back, he was riding the mule. So I guess anyway, but on with the family stuff. Like I said, he's been a coon hunter my whole life. And I think he's had a ton of friends around here that's done the same thing. But family-wise, my sister Renee, one of my sisters passed away, Melody, my brother Bobby. Between us, how many kids are there? 60 in the whole group, you know?
Yeah.
And our whole...
45 of us.
And just our group.
Yeah.
Between my siblings, grandkids, and...
Great-grandkids.
That's not including all the cousins, and that's probably up in the hundreds.
Yeah, I'm a Henry, you can imagine how that cut.
Yeah, all the Henrys and the Estises, Hody Estes and Freemans, all the Freemans from over around Paul's Valley. And I mean, the family is It's huge. It's up in the hundreds. We have so many relatives. We have a family reunion, a Henry reunion at Lake Tex Home every summer. They rent a whole part of the lake out there. Billy does it, Billy Henry does it, and there's so many of them, there's probably several hundred. They rent a whole peninsula into that lake, and they have all the RVs and cabins, and they have singing and music and
Been going on
entertainment.
since back in the 40s.
Yeah, been going on since, yeah. They had, a couple of those boys were football coaches at Kingston, Frog and Bulldog Henry.
Yeah.
And so that's part of that group as well. I mean, it's a large family. Like I say, the two girls, Leora and Labora, they've had family here. Leora's and Roy Cooper's fixing to have you're gonna have a grandchild, right?
Yeah,
Name of Cooper,
yeah.
am I right?
It'll continue the Cooper name.
If it will?
Yeah.
Yeah, her son, Cash,
Since Cat and Gary didn't have any boys, it'll
and
continue the Cooper
Gary only
name.
had girls, but
Yeah.
Cash is a Cooper.
Yeah.
And he's gonna have your grandchild,
Yeah.
and so that's gonna keep that Cooper
Yeah.
name. I think that's that's some of the last ones, that
Yeah,
there's not a lot of Coopers in that line.
right, yeah.
So,
You talked about Lavora working for the telephone company. She knew all the gossip in town. Through that telephone.
She knew that, she knew everybody's number when they called.
If the doctor called, he'd tell you where somebody was, or she knew everything.
She had a 6th grade education. I ain't never seen nobody at the cried as pretty as she could.
Yeah.
She was pretty sharp. Something that I never realized, I learned this from her, I think, so. I worked at REC for 30 years, and I knew everybody, like, I done service calls. So I went to everybody's house. If their light was out, I'd power a yard light or whatever. I would go and fix it, and in the process of talking to them, I would hear their voice. And somehow that got clicked in my brain with a name. Well, after I got through doing trouble for them, then they put me on dispatch in the office. So when I'd be in the office, I'd pick up the phone and answer it, and somebody, they would be talking to me, and I'd say, "Oh yeah, I remember your voice. I know who you are." And they'd be like, "You're what?" "Yeah, you live west of Rush Springs, 7 miles on the north side of the road." Just explain to them, where they. "Yeah, you're right. Who are you?" And I said, "Well, I was your serviceman over there for 20 years, and I don't know how many times I've heard your voice either, talking about fixing your light or whatnot." And so anyway, but that kind of stuff, I guess, is just kind of family related. Laura was probably the same way. If she talked to you on the phone or she conversed with you, she put a number and a name with it, and she knew it from then on. It was locked in. So
Yeah, and then, Lavora and Leora would get together and they'd talk, and Carolyn would be there. That's why Carolyn knows so much, is because she would be there and listening to all of this.
Yeah.
So nowadays people ask Carolyn about things that.
Yeah, well, I still have mom worked for the telephone company too,
Yeah.
and I have her little pin that they
Yeah.
put in, but,
But anyway, so they lived out there on that farm for a long time, and then whenever him and Mom married, we actually lived right here, across the road here from the mansion. We had a little white house, and some of these pictures you see here, and that's where I grew up, and he raised us. But then, and I'll never forget living here. There was several ladies that way, and the school was up here. The Aaron Springs School was on top of the hill, and it was still active when we lived here. And a lady lived in this mansion. Oh, what, Main here?
Yeah. Test
Tess Lindsay still lived in that mansion. So me and my brother, my sisters they were big enough. So we'd eat her breakfast at the house. We'd eat breakfast there. Wasn't in school yet. We leave there, Granny Thomas lived next door. And of course, me and him would go in there. "Hey Granny, got anything to eat? We're starving." We didn't have nothing to eat today. So we'd eat there. And then we'd circle out there, and May Dunn, she lived right on down the way, right next door. So same story for her. Hey May, got anything to eat? "Mama, we're hungry, we eat." So we'd eat with her. And then Bonnie Ardrey, with the big brick house, with big porch on down, we'd hit her house, and then we'd eat with Bonnie. And then when we get through there, we'd run across the road, and Miss Lindsay was over there. She had a wood burning stove, made the best biscuits in the world. That big around, that thick. We'd hit that place for a biscuit, run down through here, go to the school. They had school lunch whatever, peanut butter sandwiches. We get peanut butter sandwiches and then go back home. That was the morning run. But so after that, whenever he left here, bought a place out on the river, and raised hogs for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Where Mary Lou Acres is now, that whole, him and his brother and grandpa or somebody bought that whole thing and was raised hogs for a while. And then I think he decided that he would just be on his own, and he bought 40 acres off of Parish,
Howard Parish,
Howard
where I
Parish.
live now.
And out here south Lindsay, east of the Water Tower Road, bought, supposed to be a 40-acre square, bought it off this old man, and it was a wilderness, but it had an orchard on it, had peach trees, pear trees, plum trees, rhubarb. Anybody ever here had any wild rhubarb? Pink and white, red and white, rhubarb, grew there, wow, it was good. But anyway, he bought that place off of him, but it wasn't, bought it for 40 acres, but it was actually 65 acres in an L.
40, all 40.
Was it? But it was anyway, and so,
In the L shape.
but then we started clearing that place and about 72,
That's 72.
72, and moved out there and we cleared rocks and built a fence and pushed trees and he told me the best thing he ever done was move out there to keep me and my brother out of.
Yeah, but you got a little white house down here, and the kids couldn't get out the road, they run over.
Where we gonna get rid of
Walked that 40 acre, just turned them loose, and we didn't see them till they got hungry.
Well, they come home when the dinner bell was rang.
Yeah.
Yeah, bought that place out there, and it had, the house on it was 2 rooms, and then it had a travel trailer attached behind it. And I know none of y'all understand this. It had a partition in it, and there was kitchen sink stuff was in that travel trailer. And if you took a bath, they had a tub about this here long, about that wide, galvanized tub, 2 handles on the end of it. And so you take and pour some cold water in it, then you boil some water, and you pour water in it. And if you're the oldest, you get the last bath. Because you're the one to carry the buckets of water in and out. And so 2 girls, and brother, and then me, we took a bath in that tub. And then me and Bobby done it. Whenever we had to take a bath, that was,
Well, at least once a week.
at least, as best we could be.
It was a step up because you didn't have you had an outhouse here.
We did have an outhouse here,
Yeah.
and there was a water pump here. No, it wasn't a water pump, it was a water well with a bucket in it that
Picture pump.
there was a pitcher pump in the kitchen, but there was a well. You could drop a bucket on a rope in it that was about that long and about that big around. Let it go all the way to the bottom and fill up, take the rope, pull it up, and then you have to stand up with it, pull a trigger on the end, put it in a bucket, and carry the house and have water.
Well, they made that place one of the nicest places around here. It's really laid out good, always clean and looking neat.
It was very nice, and we had when I was growing up there, it had lights in it, electricity, no TV, had radio. We listened to the radio all the time. If I watched TV, I would go to my grandpa England's at Lindsay, he had a black and white TV at his house, or her dad's, my grandpa Condit down at Foster area, and they had TV. And I'll never forget it, when it was my birthday, July 20th, I was 8 or 9 years old. I was at her dad's house, and at NASA, the man landed on the moon, first guy to, and my grandpa Condit said, "You need to get in here and watch this year on TV. There's a man going to walk on the moon on your birthday. Come check this out." So we watched it live on his TV at Dole, Oklahoma. The guy stepped out of Armstrong, stepped out on the moon on my birthday. Best birthday, according to him, best birthday present I'd ever get. Anyhow, but yeah.
Yeah, we live down here, and we first never have a color TV, well, down and told me about that little deer you put on the front of your TV.
Oh my goodness.
So I got one.
But, now when we moved from here, this house here, when we moved out there on the river, they bought a trailer house, but it was nice. It was really nice. It had color TV. It had central heat and air. Had good cold air conditioner cold. I mean, they couldn't hardly get me and Bobby out of the house. He said, "Y'all need to go outside and play." "Oh no, it's cool in here. We're staying in here." It's nice. It was really nice. But then when we moved out there on that farm south of Lindsay, it was back to, it was kind of the other direction. But he, that's
We had
another,
running water,
we had,
we had an indoor
So-
bathroom.
Yeah.
I'll tell you a story about his dad. So I never knew this about, he moved here, when he walked here when he was 10 years old, he educated himself, he learned to read out of the Bible, but he was skilled. He had some skills. Dad, there was a company house about half a mile southeast of him. It's the house they live in now. But they moved that house from about 3/4 of a mile southeast of there, through the pasture over there. And so him and my grandpa went, they took the measuring tape and they measured it corner to corner, all the way around this house they measured it. And then they got under it, they checked all the plumbing, they did everything to do with this house. So then they come back and they started digging. I thought, man, this is the craziest thing I've ever seen. You know, they started digging holes in the ground and they dug a footing about 18 inches deep and about 18 inches wide. And they left rods sticking up out of it that tall. And I thought, what the heck? Well, they poured it with concrete, and then they put foundation walls on it. They poured a 6-inch foundation wall, thin wall around it, except they left the two ends open, where I didn't know at the time, but you could drive something through it. So all this measuring and all this stuff going on, I thought, I have no idea what they're doing here, but anyway, we're gonna watch and see. My grandpa was the one, he cross-measured it, he marked everything, and the guy took it
I was working with Lindsay Builders at that time, carpenter.
for work for carpenter for Junior Reeves. So anyway, they backed this house, moved around this house over here, this company house.
Was that the house on Southeast Third?
No, he come from out there.
One I live in now.
The one he lives in right now.
Oh, okay, I thought you were talking about Grandpa's house.
No, I'm talking about his house that he lives in.
Oh, okay, okay.
So they back under that thing, they jack it up, and they drive across the pasture, just over through the pasture, take the fences down, pull it over there on top of the foundation, in the house set exactly, perfect, every corner of it, right down on that. That house wall is this wide, like, you know, a house, 4-inch wall. The 2x4, the plates under it, set exactly down on that foundation, on that stem wall, all the way around it. And his dad took strings, and it was level. Like, the ground wasn't level because on the house on the northeast corner, the stem wall is that tall. On the southwest corner, it's this tall, okay? A massive amount of difference. When you're doing level work and you're doing ground work, a massive amount of difference in, you know, being level. But when he set that house on there, it was perfect in every corner, and the house floor, all perfectly level.
Nobody else could ever make it
It was,
work.
and I asked him, I said, Grandpa, how'd you figure all that out? And he said, you know, I educated myself out of the Bible, but he worked for the LPA or the WPA, and he learned his engineering skills and his road building skills and all that stuff through the WPA, and when he worked with them. So he was a preacher and pretty knowledgeable about the Bible, but he was also a skilled engineer. He worked at REC before I did as the
My
groundskeeper.
punishment on him was setting corners and saying, "Be the fire department, a couple out." I ordered a preacher stood there, and I'm not abandoned something. But not his punishment.
Then you did what? You had to stand in the corner?
Sit in the corner and listen to him read the Bible.
Oh, okay.
Come on, sleep.
Oh,
Now,
okay.
Daddy, you know what I tell you? Him and Horace are to be the best educated kids
Yeah,
on the Bible
exactly.
that's on this earth.
That's right.
Because they were in trouble all the time.
Yeah.
I told Mom would have been awarded in prison because she was a tougher than a boot, 6 foot tall, was about 200 pounds.
This right here is Jim's grandpa. This is his dad. This is his dad's twin. This is Claude. This is Maud. This is his oldest brother, Walter. He had a half-sister, Liza, that's not in here. A couple more half-siblings. This is Jewel and Jean, the next twins. And this is Rory and Lot, the next twins. 3 sets of twins. Miss Greenland was born in 1898. I think they said he weighed 2 pounds.
Oh, my goodness.
Can you imagine?
Scotty's uncle was born in 1888.
Yeah, and they were all born in the early 1900s. That was the influence.
Jim, didn't you tell me once that your dad ran away from home and walked here, and they came and got him and took him back? And
No,
did
that
it
was
the
him.
second time?
That was
was
his
you?
grandpa.
Yeah,
They went,
Where did you run away to?
well, things kind of got slow around here, you know. Daddy never heard there was an oil boat going on to Snyder, Texas. So, I guess the whole family except the board, we went to Snyder, Texas, where my little niece was buried there.
sister.
I didn't like that place, there wasn't no trees, there wasn't no river, there wasn't no hunting, there wasn't no fishing. And I just got tired of it. And I left. I left there that day, and the wind was blowing and the raining, the little boy kicked me up, he couldn't wipe the mud off the windshield. So anyway, I headed to Windshield, Oklahoma, and I walked out as far as the road. And anyway, I was hungry. I found the oven about that big around the thing. It was good. Got all the way home, and the old house was vacant, and there's a cabinet there. I looked back in the back, and there's a big old pink can of salmons, and I ate the whole can, and I ain't eaten none since. I wasn't here one day, they come and got me and took me back.
Oh, wow.
Where in New Mexico did they live?
Well, started out Snyder, then I go down some Hobbs, Lovington, and
Yeah, that's
Well, I thought they had, New Mexico is where Rita Jean was buried, wasn't it?
No, I was married in Snyder, Texas.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've been there to the grave before. It's in Snyder.
But anyway, I've had a wonderful family and enjoyed every bit of it, and I still do. Got the sweetest little woman in the world. She's probably been under
Because I told him so before that man.
I've had her since she's 15, I ain't never had a wolf, you know. And she's, and my brother, that's really what this boy and the rest of my kids can never say that they seen your mother. Me and her fuss, fight, or argue, had one cross.
Not 60, my whole life, never.
65
years old.
Well, I'm 66.
Almost 60.
And he coon hunted ever since I was longer than that.
He's been hunted ever since he was about 12 or 13 years old. He's hunted
Yeah.
ever since he was about 12 or 13 years old.
Then when I worked in the oil field for Clayton Lindsay down south of Lindsay, back in, before I ever met her, seen her standing in the yard out there, going to work one day. I waved at her and she waved back. And then I was going back to work.
Lesson learned, don't ever wave at a load of boys going down the road.
I went back by there, and y'all was waiting, you know. And we got to going together. I worked for Daddy. He's a, nobody worked out there, Daddy, long time did. I think he got more than he did his own boys. Because I'd work and didn't even go back talking. They liked to back talk. But anyway, we all got married, and I gave the preacher $95 half. For complicating of money. So anyway, we're in it. Her mom's daddy's house. About 12 o'clock, so I knocked on the door. We're gonna take y'all home, we're gonna get this marriage done.
She ain't know you get married. She wasn't nowhere.
We went in the house. Betty told me, I know that. That's not, no, we're not gonna do nothing, we'll leave it like it is. So it's done.
My grandpa Willie Condon said, no, they married and they're staying married. He's my son-in-law and I'm keeping him. I got to now this deal, I'm keeping this one.
Yeah.
You kept me.
Yeah, you got a good son-in-law that will help him work. That's for sure. But anyway, but,
He knew I'd work, but back then you had to work if you didn't make it.
of course, Willie, no, R.B., Labor, and Gerald went to school at Liberty Hill. And then,
Really, they were in our church,
Yeah.
they're Springs.
Jim, the younger ones, they went to church, to school here at Aaron Springs, the little school that's over there. That's where they went to school. And, so that was kind of their life because they lived on a farm right over here east of Lindsay, the big white house on the corner right over here, they lived back down there in that section, and they farmed. They leased land and farmed. That's what his dad did. His dad leased land. Back then, people would,
Sure.
Sharecrop.
sharecrop. There would be a house on the land. People would lease the land and live in the house.
Yeah, we did about 2 miles in there, had 3 ways to scoot, walk, run, or trot.
And, so
I had a bigger brother with him, I get a whole lot back pocket, we got there pretty quick.
Did you
And
ever?
that's-
We still had to carry lunch in the sack or whatever the area.
I tell you the deal
And a
about,
few years later, they come up with a little cook shack, you could eat there and get it down.
his mom and dad were pulling cotton one time, east of Lindsay, when there was still some cotton here. And I was about that one's age, just not in school yet, but size enough to be a grandma. She made me a cotton sack out of a pillowcase. And she had a cotton sack that was as long as from me to you.
She wouldn't go stairs, she didn't have.
She filled that thing up
If she
numerous
had
times.
been big as my mom, I'd be how much work I
Well,
had.
Lord,
His mom, she was a good cotton picker, and then after that, we cut broom corn and hauled hay, but that time, that was one of the very few times that I ever remember. But I did pick cotton with her and my grandpa, out there east of Lindsay and back north somewhere,
Jimmy,
for
tell
him.
about getting your first kid out of the hospital.
Yeah, this is more out here. I had 2 or 3 jobs all the time. Took a lot of money back then, you know. But anyway, for Harry Moore holding, hey, anybody, anywhere working for, I lived the other day out here in Oldfield that day. They come out there and told me about, I had a new baby boy. So anyway, I went ahead and worked finished today, you know. But anyway, I was his dad, Harry Moore. I went to him, I told him, I said, I got a wife and a baby, and I need $200 to get him out of the hospital. And he loaned me $200 to get him out, and I paid it out penny paper. So you see, right, he ain't worth much.
It didn't take a whole lot to get here.
But I didn't cost nothing, my grandma was my doctor. I didn't even have a birth certificate till I found out I didn't have one, I had to go get a brand new one, because they didn't give me one when I was born.
That's what his dad used to tell me that all the time. Harry with the not had glasses and cane and walk around. He said, "Boy, I can remember when you wasn't hardly worth nothing." I was wondering what he was talking about. And he said, "Yeah, I loaned your daddy the money to get you here. It took him a while to pay it off, but you ain't worth a whole lot anyway." I was always wondering what he was talking about, but he knew what he was talking about.
That was a good investment.
That was a good. He didn't know if it was a good investment or not.
Remember, Grandpa always said his name was Claude Nunn England?
That's all he ever was.
And I thought, Nunn, N-U-N-N. And then, I'd say, Grandpa, is that how you say? No, it's none. I said,
I
I
started
thought,
out
well, why didn't you just
I
say you didn't have one?
was a truck for Nicola Vale. And anyway, I ended up hauling as far as I'd had it for years. And they come to do his mailway. And I heard about it, and I read up on it, again, Tennis Park, they low. But the Kingfisher, Oklahoma, and it weighs 10 foot long, 10 foot wide and 30 foot long. I get $12,000 for it, paid it out home hay. I drove it all the way from Kingfisher there in Springs, no cattle, all I had was a seat and steering wheel. Went through everything, everywhere, drove all the way home. But anyway, I went from about 5 cents a bale to 25 cents a bale. Me and this boy loaded something on 3,000 bale of hay in 10 hours. It made $750 for every other around here right now.
But a little bit out of that.
But anyway, I got that bale wagon and on my own. We all get ourselves hay one Sunday, come home. Water Tower Road, I'm coming down through there. And I turn, go east, about that time, sounded like somebody dropped a bomb on the back of that wagon. Solid steel. The next thing I know, I was headed east. The next thing you know, I'm headed west. The 4 boys of a brand new LTD Ford hit me on the last 3 foot of it, turned me directly around, and I thought it killed me.
Pass them down.
But anyway, it killed 2 of the boys,
In the front, the two in the front seat died, two in the back seat lived.
There's pictures on the back.
They were doing in excess of 100 mile an hour. There's a slope about a half a mile or 0.6 of a mile to the north of that turn. And when they come over, he checked his mirrors. I checked the mirrors. I seen nothing. When he made his turn, those boys were, don't ask me why we were behind him. They went around us and tried to get behind him again, and they didn't make it. They were doing in excess of 100 mile an hour. When they hit that machine, they were way too fast. And anyway, it was a mess for sure. It was a bad deal. That many of them happened on that road though. That was
Anyway, I'm 86 years old, I've had 20 chances to be killed.
Yeah.
And the gun won't took their sentence.
there's a whole bunch of them over there. The reason they're here is that when they're laying there sleeves and them two over there, and they all gotta know, they gotta learn this stuff from somebody. And anybody else here can help but you, so, and her. So I suppose that's what you gotta do. That's your job here. So, anyway, has anybody got any questions, or you got anything else you want to talk about, or?
Yeah, we talk all night.
Well, I'm sure we could, between the two of us, how old are you? How old are you?
I'll be 86, February 28th.
And I'm 62. So between the two of us, we ain't quite got 150 years worth of Lindsay history, knowledge, and experience here, but we can cover quite a bit of time.
I don't know why I'm still here. I feel good as ever been, do nothing much as ever been, enjoy it. I'm busy all the time, 6 o'clock morning till 11 at night.
Sometimes later if you go good hunting.
First time I ever followed him, he was 64 and I was 44 and wasn't no way I could keep up with him.
He only steps about that long.
I know.
He uses all 6 foot
He
of
must
them.
have never had a dog that stay tree because he had to run into the tree.
Me and her got married. When me and her married, she was about 4 foot 10 or 11. Well, he wanted to go coon hunting, or she wanted to go coon hunting, so she went with him one time. And she was running to stay up. She said, I don't think I could hunt with your dad no more. 'Cause I
He
can't
could
stay up."
walk faster than anybody I ever got.
Now, if you got your woman or wife, and you want to make sure you come all the time, just take her hunting with you one time.
That'll fix that.
I took her to cousin with me one night, and we made a big round, and didn't do no good. No dog truck that comes, took it to the same place we went. When we got over in that back, she said, I ain't never going to another gun hunt rest of my life. You just go all you want to go.
This wasn't big home, I don't want to sit in that pickup.
You got anything else you want to talk about? You were good?
No, God.
If anybody got any questions or anything Yes, ma'am.
Why don't people come to the school anymore?
Do what now?
Why don't anybody come to this school anymore?
The school, this school is not, this is Pikes Peak School. It's not what was originally here. This was moved here as a historical site. It's actually, the original site for the school building is 10, 12 miles to the south, kind of west of here. The original Aaron Springs School was straight on up this road, kind of on top of this hill here. And the state shut it down for lack of attendance, and they consolidated it to Lindsay.
Well, back then, they had a school, but they got 3 miles of each one, where everybody had to walk.
6 miles square, yeah, 3 miles.
But you had to walk halfway to this school, to that school, to that school. But I forget how many schools there was back then, but that's.
Yeah, back in the day, the schools were only, the maximum was 6 miles apart. So, like from Aaron Springs to Lindsay, and so the kid, if he was halfway between them, the furthest he'd have to walk is 3 miles to school. So, and that was usually, it was, a 24-mile square radius, so every 6 miles or less, there was a school. Like you go here, Aaron Springs and Bradley and Rush Springs, and all the little Sea Chapel and Liberty Hill and.
It was really just 2 miles is how they first started.
Yes.
They still started where the most you have to walk is 2 miles.
4 miles south of there's Pikes Peak, 4 miles east of there's Rams Creek, about 4 miles from Rams Creek.
So,
Aaron
It was
Springs.
all in walking distance.
Huh?
It was all in walking distance.
Yeah, but my daddy he bought a house off the Murray's, in Sea Chapel District. He in the middle of the section, so we had to walk a half mile
Further than
all the
everybody
other
else.
kids.
But to answer your question, if the school attendance is why they don't have it here anymore. The little girl needs to ask why they don't have school here anymore. It's because all the kids went to Lindsay.
Yeah, everybody transferred to Lindsay School, it's a bigger school.
Not accredited.
When did they do that?
Pictures here, everybody want to look at them and see.
Yeah, y'all are welcome to come up and look at these pictures. We'll talk to you about them if you want.
When did they do that? When did they do it? When did they do
So,
it?
Aaron Springs was here until, I started school in 60.
Lived here, yeah.
Something around there. I started school in 65. They stopped having school in Springs 68. Come up here, go.
Thank you for watching. Please join our YouTube channel to see our past and future programs. Also, please follow our Facebook pages, the Murray Lindsay Mansion, Pikes Peak School Museum, and the Lindsay Community Historical Society.